At Manchester United, this isn't a crisis, it's an all out civil war. Leaks are exploding out of Old Trafford, and it shows a club that is literally at war with itself. We have furious owners point fingers at the players for destructive leaks, players in what looks like open revolt, and a manager in Ruben Amorim whose authority is completely gone after a string of humiliating results. This isn't about losing a few games anymore. This is a battle for the soul of Manchester United. Today, we're exposing who is fighting whom and why it's all falling apart. And before we dive headfirst into this insanity, if you are not already hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. The situation at Old Trafford is changing by the second, and you won't want to miss our breakdown when the next bombshell drops. Everything started with these insane leaks. The walls at Carrington have always whispered, but right now they are screaming. The latest chaos was sparked by team news getting out ahead of the Manchester derby just before the biggest game of the season against City. The starting 11 was leaked, and the craziest part was that both Marcus Rashford and Garnacho weren't just benched, they were completely out of the squad. This wasn't just a random leak, it was the final straw. The club launched a huge internal investigation with Ruben Amorim himself grilling players to find the source, but the damage was done. Now we are hearing that the players are doing their own detective work, trying to find a mole in their own dressing room. It's created a toxic atmosphere where nobody trusts anyone, and some players are furious that they were even questioned. And it gets even crazier. After a miserable 1-1 draw with Ipswich, someone leaked that Amorim privately graded the team's performance a 5 out of 10, calling out specific players. That is supposed to stay behind closed doors, but at United, it's front page news. When a manager's private critics are everywhere, his authority isn't just undermined, it's destroyed. Amorim even admitted it's impossible to stop the leaks, which is basically giving up. This isn't gossip, this is a club completely fractured. This chaos has literally split the club into three warring factions: the manager, the players, and the ownership. Each one is fighting for survival and is tearing Manchester United apart from the inside. First up, the manager Ruben Amorim. He was appointed on November 11, 2024 to bring a new identity to the club. But just 1 year later, his project is a complete disaster. The biggest issue is his tactical system. Amorim is obsessed with his 3-4-3 formation, a system that won him everything at Sporting, but at United, it's been brutal. The players can't adapt, and the results have been horrible. After one insane loss to Brighton in January 2025, his turn Amorim told the press his team was probably the worst in the history of the club. I cannot believe a manager would actually say that out loud. It shows he's out of ideas and has lost all control. The team finished in the bottom half of the table last season, and the terrible form has continued. Now everyone thinks he might just quit if things don't get better, which shows how little faith everyone has left. This doesn't look like a project. It looks like a captain clinging to a failing idea while his ship sinks. Next, the players, the owners, in-laws are furious with them, calling their behavior totally disruptive. But can you even blame them? This is a group that has seen manager after manager get fired and promise after promise get broken. Now they are being forced to play in a system that doesn't work, and when it goes wrong, they get all the blame. The leaks are a result of that frustration. When players feel like they have no power, they or their agents start talking, and we are seeing them like social media posts that are critical of the manager. It's open rebellion. It is squad full of players who feel like they are being wasted in a rigid system. This isn't just a few bad apples, it's the entire group losing faith. They are in survival mode because they don't believe the club or the manager can protect their careers. And finally, you have the ownership, Ineos, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. They came in talking a huge game, promising to knock rivals off their perch with a new 3-year plan. They took over the whole club, brought in a new CEO and technical director, and promised a revolution. But what has actually happened since they took over? Their first massive decision was to fire the old manager and hire Amorims, a decision that has so far backfired spectacularly. They inherited a squad that was overpaid and underperforming, and Sir Jim has complained about it publicly. But why they spend money on the training ground? The first team is in a total nosedive. Now there is a divide in the boardroom over whether to stick with Amorim or fire him. They promise a revolution, but all they've created is more chaos. So what happens when the manager, the players and the owners are all at work? You get the performance you've been seeing on the pitch. You get a humiliating, historic, unbelievable Carabao exit to a tiny 48th team Grimsby Town after a crazy penalty shootout. That result was an absolute embarrassment that made the pressure even worse. You get a team that looks like it has zero confidence, zero identity, and zero fight. This internal war bleeds directly onto the field. How can players give 100% for a manager they don't believe in? How can a manager inspire players he thinks are betraying him? And how can owners demand greatness when their own strategy created this mess? The simple answer is they can't. The atmosphere at the training ground is reportedly at an all-time low. The club is paralyzed and everyone is just pointing fingers. The media is treating every single match as a final test for Amorim, with upcoming games against Burnley and Sunderland being called do or die for his job. The club is just stumbling from one disaster to the next with no escape plan. This isn't just a slump, it's a complete failure of the entire system. This is so much more than just a bad run of form. This club is literally on fire and the leaks are just the smoke. The civil war between a stubborn manager, a betrayed squad, and a frustrated ownership has brought Manchester United to its knees. Ineos promised a revolution, but so far they've just delivered another season of the same old chaos. I'm just wondering, can this ever be fixed? Is there any way back for Amorim, or is he gone? And if he goes, what's next? Another reset? Another manager sacrificed to a broken club? It feels like we are at the point of no return. I have to know what you all think. Is Amorim the main problem? Is it the players or the owners deserve the blame for the mess they've created? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. Smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.